Is life not but one long day that gets lighter, gets darker as you grow? Is it not a test, a measurement of your fortitude, your constitution, your strength and valor, courage, charisma? We should be good to one another, yes. Rivalries are healthy, yet we trace fingertips and ego along lines of fatal jealousy. We are all here, human, souls sewn inside flesh, not one different from another, yet love and hatred still remain at odds. Is it so hard holding doors, offering smiles and handshakes, exhibiting kindness just because you can? Or can you? David Candido. Authenticity is a representation of one's true nature or beliefs. It is being true to oneself or to the person identified. This can be such a hard thing to do. To find yourself, it's not easy. I went through a lot of years of my life not knowing who I was. I didn't take the time out to figure out, what I liked, what I disliked. Because I've always put others before me. I put my validation in other people and their identity. I like this person's personality. I like how, they do this, or I admired something of that person. And I made a mask, but that's not who I was, And I got pretty far in life. I wouldn't say that it was the best. No, it's not. And when you really look at it, as a whole picture, I didn't get far at all. I literally didn't take not one step. You think that you're doing it and I truly wasn't, so it's like, how do you know who you are? You have to take off the mask. You have to look in the mirror. Going through life with no sense of purpose, I couldn't be truly happy with who I was, or who I thought I was. God pretty much has to tell you who you are. You have to harness that, and it takes prayer. Praying life. Really listening and taking the cues. I prayed for. I was going through a lot of pain, and I was going real deep in that depression. I prayed for wisdom. I prayed for joy, and God has a way of bringing you on a journey, so like, God, I want happiness, and, it'll literally be like, okay, if you want happiness, I'll give it to you. You truly want it, because he judges you by your heart, and, he definitely saw that, you're not doing too well, mama. So, let's get you where you need to be going. And you think, I literally thought it would be like, God's going to touch you and you're going to be happy. You're going to be good. And he does touch you. But how he did it for me was that he literally started to unpeel all the masks that I had, and it took, I literally, I was running on fumes, and people, they noticed it. It's just like, she's like not even herself. She's a fragment of herself. And it was just like, that's not even who I truly was. I'm a fragment of the mask. Like, I couldn't keep holding all the masks together. And it didn't take until literally, most of my face was coming off for me to be like, God, help me fix this, because I don't think I could keep going, and it's just like, I want to be this, I want to be that, and God is looking at you like, this is not who you truly were. You put in all these things and, trying to put validation to other people. When you don't know what you like and you don't know who you truly are, you will try to find that acceptance and that, that agreement to your identity from other people. So it's just like whoever you admire, I like Superman. Superman looks like this and he does that and he does this. And you try to mimic that and you're looking for all the people to literally tell you, it's cool. You're Superman and you're not Superman. You're you. Like, you need to find people that, will know you. And it doesn't work like that. Nobody is going to truly accept you, and nobody is going to, I wouldn't even say truly accept you, but no one can grant you that certification of authenticity, wearing a mask. Only God can actually do this for you. He's the person that tells you, this is what I formed from birth. This is what I molded you to be. You're in the likeness of me. And in order for you to know who you truly are, you need to truly know God, and God is love. And he will fill you with so much love. He filled me to the brim with love that it's just like, I want everybody to be filled with love, to the point I'm going to splash it on you. I don't care, everything that he's done for me, because I was a wreck, okay, when I came to God. And I still have a couple of wrecknesses I need to fix, but God forgave me for that. He really was just like, all right, you got a clean slate. And it's just like, really? I have a clean slate. Nobody really gives truly good, clean slates just like that. And he did. It's just like, no, you're good. So let's start strengthening who you really are, who I told you who you really were. And that's why I go refer back to the journey. The plan that you thought you had has nothing to do with God's plan. God laughs at man's plans. So he was taking off the mask. And, it's just like, you don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need this. And it's just like, you're desperately, like, it's almost in a panic state of, well, what do you mean? This was working for me from before. And, and he really looks at you like, did it really work for you, though? Because we here right now. I don't think this worked for you. And you're kind of like, yeah. Self-reflection will show that certain things you did in your life that wasn't even true to yourself. And you truly didn't give anyone anything because it wasn't fully you. And it's work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of prep talks and bearing down, in your studies and reading your Bible and praying and asking for discernment, certain things even with yourself, at this present time, the growth aspect of where I am now compared to where I was, it took a lot. It took a lot. But in order for you, especially if you have families and stuff like that, you've heard the saying of generational curses. It's like there's certain things that you've learned throughout your life. I learned a lot of dysfunctional things, and I had to break it, and God will show you how to break it. God will give you wisdom when you pray for it, and it's not easy because it's a habit. Certain things, it's almost habitual. So you have to learn how to break it. And I mess up, but try back again. And that's one of the key things to being authentic is being teachable. Are you teachable? you know, because a lot of times you hear so many stories. I did this because, you know, my father did this, you know, and I thought it was, you know, normal, you know, or I thought it was okay, and it had nothing to do with who you are. You know, you're not truly like that. It's just that you learned this. But when God gives you your purpose, you start seeing the tools and, you know, the special gifts that you have within yourself. And sometimes it's not as strong as you would have liked it to be, but you work on it, you know, and you truly evolve. You know, you see the strength that you have. You know, it's bewildering at first, but you will start to see that you don't need certain things anymore. You know, certain things that you clung on, certain personalities that you had to do. I have this alter ego. You don't need the alter ego. Be who you are. Be you, you know, and that is enough. That is enough. The people that need to be in your path, God will move them in front of your path, you know. When you don't do that, you start trying to make your own, you know, own path. And some people are not supposed to be in your life. Some people are not, you know, some people are supposed to be there only for a season, you know, for the rest of your life. And a lot of times, because you're holding on so much to what you think, you know, is supposed to happen, or what you think, you know, well, this is me and this is what I'm trying to get to. And it's just like, deep down, you know, this is, you know, this is not for me, you know, but because you're not analyzing the whole thing and putting everything in perspective of, this is what I truly like to do, you know, you literally abandon it. And I abandoned it for years, you know, so it takes a lot of time, but it's doable. It very much is doable. I had to find the courage and the strength to really sit down with me, you know, and I'm the type of person that I can be alone, you know. I can sit there and really have my own me time, but in true essence, didn't spend any time with myself, period. I was just alone, but not really being with me. And that takes self-care. And, you know, a lot of people will associate self-care with, you know, taking a spa day or this or that. Sometimes self-care is analyzing who you are, what you do, you know, how you operate, and to be able to decipher what is healthy and what's not healthy, you know, so you can break those chains. Once you are able to break those chains, then you can evolve, you grow in you know, a lot of fields in your life. If you're not willing to really look at the man in the mirror, how much me time are you really doing? You know, you're making a fancy shell that is not as filled as it could be, you know. And when God is present in your life, He fills those holes, you know. He fills you up, and you have so much love and just, you know, peace within yourself, because you know who you are now, you know, and you truly know. You can know different aspects of yourself and not truly know you, but once you're able to identify it, you know, God will give you a nice little long sheet of who you was. And when you really read it, it's just like, I didn't even know that. You know, people learn something new about themselves all the time. It's just that, are you willing to be authentic to the true nature of who you are? Not what people have told you who you was, or, you know, what to do, and this is the structure how to do it. What did God tell you, you know? And it took for me to hit rock bottom to know my true self, you know. And it's a journey, but we're doing it, you know. And I definitely want to give words of encouragement to anyone else that is trying to get there. In order for you to make a change in your life or in others' lives, you need to make a change within yourself. You need to know who you are. I can't help anyone if I can't help myself. I can't help my son. I can't raise him if I don't know who I am. If I'm able to see you're doing this wrong, Toya, you need to do it this way. It takes self-reflection, and a lot of times I had gotten it wrong, but I'm on my way to finally getting it right. We'll get there. But yeah, true authenticity is once you are able to have achieved it, or on your way to getting it, there ain't nothing nobody could tell you in this whole world that's going to deter you, because deep in your core, this is my fibers, this is what God instilled within me. So keep going, keep striving and strengthening them strengths and the weaknesses, because it takes one person. That's all it takes. If you can change yourself, you can change the world. So you guys have a very good night, and I will see you guys next Saturday.